as we continue our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, and on this wonderful, wonderful September 2001, we're very pleased. We're not giving you a history number of this particular tape we're doing because we'll have a magic number a little bit later on in the program, but we're so very pleased and very honored today to have Rose Garcia as our very special spotlight guest. And Rose, welcome to the set.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
We're just so pleased that a teacher of your caliber will come and share your life, and especially with the young boys and girls that may watch our show. We hope someday to get an audience of young boys and girls, especially in our history shows.
Yes.
And we'd like to set the stage in celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which this show has been doing for quite a number of years. We're honored to have a teacher from Lee Middle School.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And if you'd look out into your camera and tell us about the real Rose at the very beginning, tell us where you were born, give us your parents' name and your mother's maiden name. If you have siblings, if you would give those.
Okay.
And anything you'd like to say for a few minutes about your early life.
Okay. I was born in what we call the borderlands. That's in South Texas. I was born in Roma, Texas. The hospital where I was born, the back of the hospital is the river, the Rio Grande River. So that's exciting to tell my students when we're talking about geography. I was born in Roma, Texas. My dad is fifth generation Mexican American. My mother is from Mexico, from Jalisco, a beautiful state. And I have both cultures, the Mexican American and the Mexican culture. So I can speak both languages, if you will.
That's great.
When I started school in first grade, I was monolingual Spanish because my mother, that's all she spoke. My dad was totally bilingual, but they wanted for us to know our native tongue.
Yes.
However, in first grade, I was paddled for speaking Spanish. And that left a very deep imprint on my heart.
Yes, it did.
Years later, when I went to college, in spite of my counselor at Trinity High School in Euless, she said I was not college material, that I should go into a technical school or become a secretary. In spite of her advice, I went on to college, got on the dean's list, won a merit scholarship for my last 2 years of school at Texas Women's University. 4.0 all the way. I was invited to the Phi Sigma Iota International Honor Society in foreign languages and several other organizations of that type. And then I started my teaching career here in Grand Prairie, and I became a bilingual teacher because of what had happened to me as a child. I didn't want for any child to be put down or mistreated for something as basic as language.
Yes.
However, I've been in situations all my life where I've had to make a difference, or what I've brought to the table has been totally different from what was said there. My first year teaching here in Grand Prairie, I got in a lot of trouble with my principal because he wouldn't let me have my books in Spanish. And so it was disillusioning that my whole educational life has been hard
Yes.
to succeed.
Yes.
First with the language, paddled for speaking Spanish in first grade. High school, when I'm graduating, that I'm not college material. And then when I start my educational career, I'm being told the same by my principal. So it has been very hard as far as that goes, but we have something that we call in Spanish ganas, and that's will. And nothing can stop you if you have ganas. Nothing. And that's what I tell my students. And I've been very fortunate that my students they know my story. I tell them, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. If you know that you're smart, if you know that you can do the work, it doesn't matter if you don't make an A+. I was told I was not college material. I have since gone to SMU, Southern Methodist University, and got my master's degree there, Master of Liberal Arts. And I'm a published poet. And I've done a few things, and I feel very happy that I can share this with the boys and girls.
All right. Now, I want to get back to the basics. I need your parents' names.
My mother's name is Maria Atanasia, maiden name Negrete. My dad's name is Raul Garcia.
Okay. Brothers or sisters?
I have 6 brothers and sisters. There's 6 of us. I'm the oldest.
How wonderful.
Yes.
Yes, that's great. Would you like to name them on your tape?
Okay. Sandra, Raul, Sarah, Jerry, and Luis.
That is just wonderful.
Thank
Now,
you.
where are they located?
All of us are here except one is in Laredo.
Okay.
He went to school over there and he stayed.
He loved it there.
Yes.
All right. Going to school when you were a young person, and did you have favorite teachers or someone that really inspired you in the elementary arena?
No.
No. Just parents that encouraged you to keep going to school?
Right.
And
I was very different. We came from South Texas to North Texas.
yes.
And I'll relay this little story that goes with this. At that time, there weren't very many Hispanic people in Euless,
Yes.
where we grew up.
Yes.
And the teachers just thought I was different.
Yes.
I was very quiet and introverted.
Yes.
But I always made 100 on the spelling test. Every Friday in 5th grade, every Friday, I had 100 average. So they knew I had the capacity, but they didn't know what to do with me. And my accent was different. And so I didn't have much encouragement through my school years.
Not even when you got into the high school arena?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any special educational marks that you made in high school? Maybe a favorite teacher or favorite subjects or anything?
The subject was typing. Back then we could take typing.
Yes.
And
That was almost like computer now then.
Right.
Yes, it was.
And I was very good at typing because I'm a kinesthetic learner.
Yes.
That means I have to touch and feel.
Yes.
So I excelled in typing. I went to state competitions in typing.
Yes.
So I remember that always.
Who encouraged you to go from high school on into TWU?
One of my friends told me that I should go to college, even though the counselor had told me I shouldn't.
Yes.
And my parents value education, even though they weren't able to go. My dad, because he was a migrant worker.
Yes.
And so they had to help feed this country, and they couldn't get educated.
Yes.
And my mother, the education she had was in Mexico, but she only went to like the 5th grade.
All right.
So they always valued education, and they encouraged us to go. But not knowing what to do or how to do it, my mother told me in April of my senior year to go speak to the counselor, because she said, honey, I hear that you're supposed to go to college. And so that's when I went. We didn't know that you do that like a year in advance and all that.
Yes.
But nonetheless, my friend Desiree, she helped me. And this wonderful lady that lives here in Grand Prairie, Betty Escalante,
All right.
she helped me as well.
That was 2 marks of distinction. And then to keep on with your education and get your master's from SMU. And how long have you been teaching in the Grand Prairie system?
This is my 21st year.
Your 21st year, and you started with what campus?
Crockett Elementary.
You started with Crockett.
Yes, and now I'm back.
Next door to Lee. Oh.
And now I'm back. I've made a full circle.
Oh, that is wonderful. And have you always taught the bilingual subjects?
I did for 12 years, and then Mr. Mojica invited me to Jefferson. It had become an intermediate school, or they were turning it into one. And he wanted me to do some of the things I had done at Crockett, because I did the first Cinco de Mayo programs ever in GPISD. So he wanted that, and so we started this wonderful multicultural class in expressive arts, Mr. Mojica and I, and we had a lot of success. In the expressive arts class, I do the poetry, dance, and some theater, and the kids love it.
And he is your principal at Lee.
Yes, it's
Isn't
wonderful.
that exciting?
Yes.
And do you also teach the expressive arts at
Yes,
Lee?
ma'am. I get to do that again. So I'm happy to do what I love to do. I'm happy to get up and go teach my kids every day. I love my job. I love what I do.
And you're also a chaplain in LULAC. Because I recently saw you last year in May when you all saluted all of the Hispanic graduates at the Grand Prairie ISD. I came to the program, and I have the program, and you were part of the program.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was my introduction to you as a formal speaker, etc., because I don't get to sit in your classes.
Right.
But we're just so glad to have you with us here today. And you're also, I believe, involved in the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and other activities. What are some of your other interests other than those precious boys and girls at Lee?
I'm a charter member of the Hispanic Chamber with Rick and Lorraine Sarabia.
All right.
With LULAC, I've been with them for about 10 years.
Okay.
I was the State Woman of the Year in 1995. And I received a silver medal from the First Lady of Mexico in 1993 for teaching Mexican culture in the United States.
How wonderful.
Yes, that was quite an honor.
That is a treasure.
Yes, I was the first civilian. And my other interests are in the arts community.
Yes.
I was in a play that world premiered in Dallas in June.
Okay.
I went to be the dramaturg and ended up being a cast for a part. From that, I was asked to be in a movie, so I'm working in a movie right now.
Wonderful.
Yes.
In the 1 minute we have left, it doesn't seem possible, but we have about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I want you to look out into your camera and exhort the boys and girls that may have a rough start that they can finish as you have done.
Okay. It's all about ganas, the will. Any student, any child can do anything that they want. If you want to do it, you will do it and succeed, no matter what it is, even if it's a picture, painting. I encouraged one of my students a couple of years ago, and he won a scholarship to SMU to go study art in the summer, and he was a 6th grader.
How wonderful.
So we are a talented people. Our history tells us the great Mayans and Aztecs were our ancestors, therefore we are naturally intelligent. We just have to find the spot that we are good in and succeed.
That is a beautiful, beautiful philosophy of life and a wonderful testimonial. Rose, it's been just a delight having you with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking your precious time this afternoon. We did wait till you get out of school.
I appreciate it.
Yes, so that we could have you all to ourselves for this interview. And thank you so much for what you do, not only for the Hispanic culture in Grand Prairie, Texas, but for all of the other boys and girls that come under your tutorage.
All of them.
All of them. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And we'll be right back with the rest of our Spotlight interview during Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yo soy tejano y le tengo tanto orgullo.
continuing our wonderful series on Hispanic Heritage Month. Today we're very honored to have a very special young lady from the Grand Prairie ISD, Sandra de la Cruz, and she is the Director of Pupil Services. Welcome to the set, Sandra.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We're delighted to have you, and we thank you for wanting to share your life with us for this very wonderful salute. And let's begin, if you'd look out into your camera and tell us about the real Sandra, where you were born, the name of your parents, including your mother's maiden name, and if you have siblings, if you'd like to name any of those. It's a mini genealogy here.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Sandra Nay de la Cruz, and I am the fourth child to Roberto and Nora de la Cruz. I was born in San Benito, Texas. My mother, Nora, was also born in Harlingen, Texas, and my father was born in San Benito. The story that we always laugh about my father that we didn't find out until just recently was that when he was in school, he was called Washington, and that was his name that the kids gave him because they said he was so smart.
Wonderful!
So we always laughed about that, and we said it took a long time for us to learn that secret.
Yeah.
I have 6 siblings. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay.
My oldest sister is Nora Belinda. My second sister is Cynthia Claire. My third sister is Rebecca Yvonne. I'm Sandra Nay. And I think my parents picked those names because you could say them in Spanish and English.
And in English, wonderful.
Because you say Belinda or Belinda, and Cynthia or Cynthia, Rebecca, Sandra. And so those names were names that you could say either way. But then when my 3 younger siblings came, my parents gave them very Spanish names. Roberto Rogerio, and we call Bobby or Robert, and then Santa Juanita. And my youngest sister, her name is Rosario, and we call her Chayo.
That's wonderful. And you went to school in the Valley, probably, elementary school?
That's correct. I started school in the Valley. My father was in the military, though. He was in the Air Force Reserves, and during the Cuban crisis in '62, he was called into active duty, and we began our family moving from place to place. The places that we lived when I was a child, of course, San Benito was where I went to elementary school, but then we moved to New York and lived in Niagara Falls, and we were at Niagara Air Force Base was where we were stationed. Then my father went on a remote assignment to Labrador in Goose Bay in Canada, and for that year, we went back to San Benito, and so I went to 4th grade in San Benito.
In Texas.
Then we moved to Sherman, Texas, and we were stationed at Prairie Air Force Base.
How wonderful.
And the last time that I was with my family at a base was we were stationed in Howard Air Force Base in the Canal Zone, in the Panama Canal Zone. And my father did 2 tours of duty there, but that's when I graduated from high school. And
graduating from?
I actually graduated from San Benito High School.
How wonderful!
I went back for my senior year, and my father then was stationed at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio.
All right.
So we moved quite a bit.
Yes, but who was the mentor that really encouraged Sandra to move on to higher education? Was it teachers or parents or family or grandparents or someone special?
I have to say that it was my father. I think my father was very influential. He had 6 daughters and 1 son, and he was very non-traditional in that he always said he wanted a family doctor or a family lawyer, and that he needed us to take care of him when he was going to be old.
Yes, yes.
And then what ended up happening was all his daughters became teachers.
That is great.
But he really encouraged us to, we never even thought about not going to school. Of course, there were times, because with such a big family, he was not able to assist us, and he would tell us, you know, I'm not going to be able to.
Let's work our way through college.
So we worked our way through college.
And where did you go?
I went to San Antonio College my first 2 years of school when my father was stationed at Lackland.
Yes.
I went to San Antonio College, and then I went to Texas Women's University. 2 of my sisters, Belinda and Cynthia, had both gone to Texas Women's University. Yes. So I followed in the footsteps of my sisters and continued our family tradition with going to TWU, and that's when I moved to Denton. And my father was then stationed again in Panama. So when I first started to teach, I taught in Dallas, but I was
And you
here.
graduated from TWU?
I graduated from TWU with a bachelor's in bilingual education.
How wonderful.
And a minor in reading. My parents moved back to Panama, and I started to teach in Dallas.
And you were an orphan here in the United
That's
States
right.
almost, weren't you?
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
That's right. My oldest sister
On your own.
was teaching in Fort Worth, and she
Yeah.
and I were the only ones that were here.
Yes.
And everybody else was living with my parents, and so we would do our extended
Where'd you do
things
your
here.
first teaching?
I taught at Harold Budd Elementary School in Dallas, and I taught first grade bilingual, and I really loved teaching reading. I loved teaching the small ones, and I taught first grade actually for 6 years.
And when did you come to Grand Prairie, Texas, and what brought you here?
I came to Grand Prairie, Texas because of the opportunity for the position that I have now.
Yes.
I taught in Dallas for 10 years and then went into counseling and administration. And Grand Prairie had the wonderful job that I have now.
Tell us about it.
Sure. I manage several different programs. The Title I program, which is the federal funds that we receive for our schools that have the highest free and reduced lunch.
Yes.
I also manage the grant that we get all our federal funds with. So it's a
That's
big,
a biggie.
Yes, it is. I manage health services, so the school nurses. Even though I'm not a nurse, I just help them with the program. I manage our counseling services program, but I am a certified counselor. I went back to TWU and got my master's degree in counseling.
How wonderful.
Yes, and I just really, really
Stayed
feel
with the home school.
that's correct.
Yeah.
I tell everybody I think I just liked TWU just so much that I thought it was a wonderful school and was really good for me as a young woman and needing to have that support that I didn't have at that time from my family because they were so far away. The folks at the school were very supportive of me and have always continued to be supportive of me. I also manage our dropout prevention program, our programs for homeless students, our Safe and Drug-Free Schools program, all state and federal grants. We have different people that do the different responsibilities, but I manage those people. And so it's, just learning about all the different types of programs, and I felt like it was a wonderful opportunity. I absolutely love working in Grand Prairie. It's a wonderful community with great teachers and great...
Have you moved to Grand Prairie yet?
I have not, but I've thought about it.
That's next.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
going to proselyte you and bring you into Grand Prairie, Texas.
Well, it's a wonderful city.
Yes, it is. It really is. And working with Dr. Barbosa and all of the staff members, you have a staff of how many that work with you just under your direction?
Directly under me, coordinators and a director, I have about 6 people, but I also manage a grant that I wrote, which is a licensed chemical dependency counselor, a play therapist, and a psychologist. So those 3 people also directly report to me. And I've most recently added social workers to Grand Prairie, and so I also manage the social workers. So I have people who manage programs, but there are still some staff that I directly supervise that are really out in the field, and it keeps me current on what the issues are at the campus and keeps me focused with what the needs of the schools are.
And you must be some role model for our Hispanic students, especially in Grand Prairie, Texas. I know you are for all of the students that you deal with, because you probably have a great mixture of them in all of the different areas that you are supervising now. But I'd like for you to look out into your camera and let's talk to the young people and tell them that you can start out as a young person with the encouragement of your parents or without it, and you can become successful as you have become. And that's what we want our program of Hispanic Heritage Month to relate.
Well, I'd like to tell the young students in Grand Prairie, all the way from the little ones in elementary school to the older ones in high school, that all the opportunities are there for you. All the opportunities to learn and to get an education. There are grants available if your families cannot afford to help you through school. There are lots of people like me who worked and went to school at the same time, and we managed to finish school and make our families proud and get a good job. And I just want all students, Hispanic students and all students as well, to know that those opportunities are available, and it just takes the desire and the focus and making a commitment to yourself that this is what you're going to do, and also making sure that you don't let those distractors that are there, people who don't want you to focus, or people who maybe would try to influence you to do things that are not good and not right. And you have to be strong and be able to say no and make a decision to continue with school and finish with school, and then you can do anything you want. You have a long life ahead of you, and you don't have to do everything right now. I always tell students that they have a long life ahead of them. They've got lots of time to have children, to get married, to have families, and they can certainly get their education first if they can, and then do those other things. If they already have a family, they can certainly, I can tell you with my brother and my sisters, I had some of them that also had families already, but they too went to school with their family support and managed somehow to be able to complete their education.
That is a wonderful exhortation. I needed about 4 more minutes so you could talk with the parents and encourage them, and also ask you, what are you going to be when you grow up? Do you have, and we have a half a minute or a minute left.
Okay.
1 minute left, Louis says. And what are your aspirations for the future in 1 minute?
I can tell you that right now I'm in my 25th year in education. I'm looking at retiring hopefully in a few years. But what I really would like to do, I'd like to make a complete circle and probably go back to working with the little ones again, maybe going back to school and getting a doctorate degree in early childhood. It's always been my dream. And then going back and even teaching again, teaching first grade again. I think I would be a fabulous teacher now.
Oh, yes.
I think I know so much more than I did when I was first out of college, and I think I've got a lot to offer children.
Wonderful. Sandra, it's been a delight having you on the show today.
Thank you.
You have ended this segment of Hispanic Heritage Month with a bang, and thank you so much for sharing your life. It's very meaningful to us. It's meaningful to Grand Prairie, Texas, and to the Grand Prairie ISD especially. They have a jewel with you, and thank you very much for coming to be with us
Thank
today.
you. It's wonderful to be here.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.